Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all-new episode of that Star Trek podcast. My name is Sean Ray, and I work really hard not to be misunderstood. Joining me tonight in the historic Infinite Potato Studio, we have Dave. How's it going, sir?
Hey, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing wonderful. Rick is here as well. How are you?
Be brilliant.
And Nick Yeager is here with us as well. How you doing, ma'am?
Mediocre as always.
All right. So tonight we will be discussing the season 2 finale of Star Trek Picard, which was titled Farewell, written by Christopher Monfett and Akiva Goldsman, directed by Michael Weaver. And of course, the original air date was May 5th, 2022. With just hours until the Europa launch, Picard and crew find themselves in a race against time to save the future.
Now, before we go any further, and I'm going to give you a warning this time, I'm about to drop a big F-bomb. And y'all might agree with me on this. Fuck giant freaking robot. Those assholes got their... They've been putting out a story that Alison Pill was fired from Picard. And it got onto one of my news aggregators, and I clicked on the damn thing, not realizing it was a GFR freaking article until I got to it. And then I was like, oh, you assholes.
Yeah, it was. They did put out a big clickbait and called it fired. Then you go to the article, and it's. I mean, she's not going to be on the show anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I thought you were talking about Bad Robot, and I was like, wait,
Oh,
what?
no.
Like, aren't they secret hideout now? And also, like, what? Wait. Yeah, but yeah, giant freaking robot. They suck.
Giant freaking robot, Midnight's Edge, that whole
bounding into comics.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, comic skaters, man.
What did you guys think overall of this episode? Nick, I'll start with you. What'd you think?
Mediocre as always. It was okay, I guess. I felt like there were a lot of emotional beats that were not earned. It was fine. The season started so strong for me. I was so into it the first few episodes, and then it lost me. And then I obviously kept watching, but I stopped caring as much. And then I was almost just watching it out of duty. And then, it ended and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's over, whatever. I think the only thing that I loved was Will Wheaton showing up. That really surprised me. And I was like, I love that. It makes sense. Finally, he's being acknowledged. It's great for the character. It's great for continuity. Everything else. Oh, and I also really enjoyed Q finally admitting he loves Picard. And I wish Picard had acknowledged his affection for Q a lot earlier. Earlier, like back in TNG, because I always thought it was a little bit silly how he was always so hostile towards Q, because it's like, dude, this has been going on for ages. Like, get with the program, get over it, just roll with it. Stop fighting something that is a force of nature. And so I liked him finally being like, oh, okay, we're buds. And then everything else, I was just sort of like, meh.
Okay. Yeah, I've always wondered why. Well, I mean, I know why, but they always kept acting like Q was this bad guy that was just gonna end everything. I was like, he's obviously not. He's not gonna end everything. He's just there to cause problems. He's Mr. Mixel-Picklick or whatever from Superman, but
Mix-Yes-Pedalic.
Okay, there you go.
It's funny that you bring up Superman, because I was just thinking that is exactly the relationship between Picard and Q. Like, Picard is Lex Luthor in a way, and he's terrified of the power that Q has, whether or not he's about to really do something or not. Like, you just never know with Q. Maybe he'll end humanity to teach Picard a lesson. Be like, well, if you can't figure it out, then humanity shouldn't even be around anyway, should they? So like, I feel like that's just really Picard's whole mentality is like, damn it, Q, what is this? Like, it might be a fun little adventure, or it might be something really horrible. Yeah, but yeah, I do also get that feeling. There's just like, God, he should have just said, I love you, Q, or something at some
Yeah.
Well,
point.
I mean, even if he is terrified of Q, which is a reasonable reaction, to be so openly hostile, to be so, I don't know. To me, it's not a logical way to deal with it. It's
Yeah.
like, this is someone who could end you, and yet it's pretty obvious he cares about you. So maybe show a little bit of appreciation, a little bit of respect, especially after the episode. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. The one where he learns the lesson about his reckless youth, and he's like,
Tapestry.
oh,
Tapestry.
and he
Yeah.
actually acknowledges like, oh, Q actually kind of helped me on that one. And it's like, okay, I thought that would be a turning point, and then he would sort of grow a greater appreciation for Q, but he seems to just be just as hostile the next time he shows up,
Well,
instead of saying like, oh, what's going to happen now?
with especially with this season, I would say that I'm thankful they didn't, hammer it home quite as ham-fisted as I'm about to say it. But when you look at like Picard's relationship with his father, he might actually just be lashing out at Q because he feels like, here's another authority figure who's telling me what I can and can't do, is bullying me like my dad did. You know what I mean? Like that might be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that might have been something interesting to explore that they didn't do.
It's a fine line though. Like, I don't want Supergirl, you know what I mean? Where it's like, that's why I've been rebelling against Q all these years, because my dad was a dick. Like, I don't want that either. So it's hard to please me. I accept that.
Well, I will say one thing that I've seen a lot of online is people complaining that Q says that he's dying, because they say Q is immortal, he can't die. Look, everything dies. There is a beginning and an end to everything. I mean, they can say he's immortal all he wants to, but there is an end to energy comes to an end eventually, or it dissipates into something else.
And Q is also always lying. I don't know why everyone takes his words at face value.
Well, he also, like I pointed out to a couple of people, I said, look, he said, I'm moving on. You call it dying. He's turning into something else. It's not necessarily going to end. It's just this version of him won't exist anymore or whatever. But Rick, what did you think?
Well, first of all, listening to y'all talk, I just had the realization that maybe Q is just an omnipotent sub, and he just loves it when Picard yells at him. I loved it.
There is that.
I really enjoyed the episode. Yeah, there are some okay. I think we need to give Picard a little bit of slack, because one, this is season 2. Look at what most Star Trek series looked like in their second season. They weren't great. They also had to deal with COVID. Like the ending scene in the bar. Why, it was like, it didn't even dawn on me while I was watching. I was like, why are they over at that table and Guinan and Picard? It was because of COVID. They were never in this. They weren't allowed to be within 10 feet of each other. That's why that weirdness was going on. So I think that given the strictures they had to work against.
It wasn't just that they were away from each other. That scene with Picard and Guinan, and then immediately right behind him, the table with Raffian, that was filmed at different times. They weren't even filmed together.
Yeah, the trivia that I read, it didn't specifically say that Whoopi Goldberg didn't want to be that close to anybody else, but that was kind of the subtext there. And I know plenty of people that we at work, we are no longer required to wear masks, but we've got some students that still wear their masks. And I asked them, do you want me to put mine on? Are you uncomfortable with, so there's still a lot of concern and fear over COVID. And this was filmed a year ago when we were still in the, at the peak of it. So I think we need to, and this isn't the only show that I've been, seeing, people are like, complaining about this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, you got to give these people some slack. They got a show out under incredibly difficult conditions. Yes, I was complaining, just 2 or 3 episodes ago, just get on with it. This season could have been 2 episodes shorter and a little more tight, a little more concise. But I think that this finale was very much in the idiom of Star Trek, of previous finales, season finales. I think they tied up everything maybe too neatly. I won't argue that, but it was very satisfying. The hug was awkward as hell, which was exactly how it should have been. Picard going, "All right, you're dying. I'll give you a hug, you asshole." I think my only complaint, is just and I think I said this before. I understand why this storyline brought Stewart back, because he had said he saw no reason to do Picard again. He'd said everything he needed to say. He wasn't going to come back unless there was something new to do. Mm-hmm. And this was exploring aspects of Picard that they hadn't explored in the show. And as an actor, I can see how this was appealing to him. I just don't know that we really needed to go along on that ride with him. But it's more Star Trek, so I'm not going to complain too loudly. I didn't get to talk about last week's episode because I wasn't here when y'all talked about it. I was, both disturbed and impressed that they went as far as they did with his mother's storyline, because I was like, that's got to be where it's going, but I don't think they're going to have the cojones to do it. And then they did it, and I was impressed, but also like, oh, that was pretty grim. So it was a little candy corn pie in the sky, the way they tied everything up so neatly. But on the other hand, my heart was like singing with every loose end that was wrapped up. And like you said, Neek, it was so great seeing Will Wheaton again. Unfortunately, I had been spoiled about that by Will freaking Wheaton himself.
Yeah, Will Wheaton spoiled it. I mean, come on.
And I don't blame him for it. He'd been sitting on that picture for a year, and he's finally like, finally I can post this. But even that was, I had no idea what the context would be, but it was great to see him. I'm reading his book, his Still Just a Geek book right now. And, the way Berman just screwed him over every chance he got. It was so nice to see Will get some real screen time for a change. So
yeah, I need to read that.
Overall, I really enjoyed it. There were a couple of scenes that we probably could have done without, a couple of things that were a little too Deus Ex Machina, but overall, I think it was certainly better than last season. So,
John made it. How's it going, John? Good. All right, Dave. Dave, what did you think?
I feel like it is a better finale than last year. Still fell pretty flat to me. I feel like this whole season they should have pulled a Moon Knight, man. They should have done 6 episodes and been done. There's a lot of chase the cat, save the cat, whatever you want to call it. In this season, a lot of filler episodes, weirdly, but I did get choked up when Picard hugged Q. Especially when Q said, "I care about you." That got me. Damn it. And though I felt that it's one of those things where I saw Will Wheaton pop up and I went, how's this going to go? And I love the revelation that the Travelers are, pretty much the higher ups in charge of the Gary Sevens. What are they called? The
supervisors.
That's it. Oh, God, I can't remember that word. I love that. I love that turn. I am willing to forgive Will Wheaton for not acting well.
Yeah, do like Will Wheaton. Yeah,
he did. Like, I was like, man, he's been out of the game for a minute. And then I look back and watch some Wesley scenes on TNG and I was like, no, he's still there. Never mind. I'm good. We're good. Yeah. I'll never like that they, just brought Briones into play a different character. I'll never dig it, but that's fine. She can be a traveler. I'm good with getting rid of her. And what was funny is I saw a a little behind the scenes thing where they were like, we have to figure out what to do with her. And then someone mentioned Wesley, and everyone's like, and everyone had been fighting over, like, all the different showrunners have been fighting, saying, we want Wesley in our show. And I'm like, that's so weird that everyone, but yeah, I mean, everybody wants to know what the hell happened to Wesley.
Yeah, I want to know who was fighting, because I mean, I don't know how would Wesley fit into Discovery. How would I can see Wesley popping up on Lower Decks?
He's a traveler.
He's a
Well,
traveler.
yeah,
He can
he
fit
go
in
anywhere.
anywhere.
Yeah.
He can go
Yeah.
everywhere.
He's a
I
Time
know,
Lord now,
I know it.
basically.
I know it can happen. I just don't see it. I just don't see him
Look,
fitting in that storyline.
as someone who has been like ruminating on that cryptic, line from Cisco, I could be back in a year, I could be back, or I could be back yesterday or whatever. I'm like, dude could travel in time.
Yeah.
Like back in the Enterprise days, I was like, man, season 5, if they do season 5 before they canceled it, I was like, I hope we see Avery Brooks show up as Cisco to set right what once went wrong. It's a shame Christopher isn't here, because
Yeah.
I've been wanting Quantum Leap with Cisco or Wesley for over a decade at least. So yeah, but yeah, the time travel elements don't make any sense to me. Like I was peeved that they went ahead and just, between that and the other show that we're not going to talk about right now, they pretty much just retconned it, where like, yeah, 1996, that wasn't eugenics wars. Eugenics wars happened later. Okay.
Well, we'll get into, we'll talk about it. But when he pulls up that file says 1996 on the file.
Does it?
Project
Yeah.
Con. It says
Oh,
1996 on the file.
oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, now
Well,
I'm really like, are you guys talking to each other? What's happening?
Well, what I've heard about that, and they've been saying this for years, this isn't anything new, was, and this has been like people's headcanon for a long time,
Mhm.
especially after what was the Voyager one where they went back to
Was it past tense or
past tense? Yeah.
Am I thinking of something else?
And
I don't know.
basically what they were saying is that the eugenics wars happened in 1996, but they weren't widely known.
Yeah.
It was like a skirmish in Asia that most of the Western world was not aware of. And then after World War III happened and a lot of the records got lost, it was one of those things that, future generations thought of it as a huge thing, because it was one of the few things that they knew about from history, but
Mhm.
it wasn't something that was widely known. It wasn't a worldwide conflict. It was a fairly localized thing that then led to a big thing.
Okay.
Like, all right, that's fine. How
I can get down with that.
Yeah, how many Asian skirmishes can we name off the top of our hands that aren't Vietnam? So
I know that there are those who don't like Greg Cox as a writer. I like him a lot as a writer. I thought Q Continuum was one of the best trilogies of books that's ever been done. But yeah, like his con books were fantastic for like bringing up stuff like little things like Waco and stuff that like tied into the eugenics wars we just didn't know about. Like I really liked that.
I started reading the first one, and I couldn't get past. Did we need to see Noonie? I didn't get halfway into the book. It just drove me crazy.
John, what you think of this episode?
It seems like I'm pretty much on the same page as what everyone else has said. I liked the episode overall. It was a good conclusion. There was, over the course of the season, it's been, let's say, uneven in some aspects. But when they focused on the main plots, for the most part, I was fine with what they did. And this was pretty much all main plot. It wasn't a surprise what happened to Girardi. I think we called it like episode 2
Mhm.
or 3.
Matt and I called it on Star Trek UCast like last year. Like seriously, before season 2, like we were in the middle of season 1. We're like, you think Girardi's going to be the Borg Queen at some point? Yeah.
I was definitely win the prize for that. The hug got me. Even gods have their favorites. I care about you got me, which is the point that Picard is always making to Q. So that was nice. that one individual life can't matter. Let's see what else. Elnor, I'm fine with it. Rios, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Like it was. I enjoyed it.
The only thing that I didn't like about the hug. So I've gone on record. I've said throughout the season that I think that it would.
You hate hugs? Yes,
it would. No, it would be good if Elnor didn't come back, especially with the scene that we had in the last episode where Rafi kind of made her peace with the combat hologram, and was able to talk it out. And then the fact that Picard just says, "But why did Elnor have to die?" And Q was like, "Well, oh well, it happens or whatever." And then when Picard hugs Q, it's like he hasn't brought Elnor back yet at that point. And it's like you're hugging him like, "Oh, it's okay. You killed Elnor for no reason, just to teach me a lesson."
Well, he didn't
He
kill him
didn't kill Elnor, and he made that point. I never told you dumbass to go back in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that jerk killed Elnor. That wasn't on me. And the hug was, it's a friend who's dying, and so you're gonna hug your friend. That wasn't,
Now I did like it. I did like when Picard went and put the skeleton key back behind the brick, so that younger him can find it in the future. And that's when I kind of reconciled a lot of in my mind, I kind of reconciled a lot of the time travel stuff that didn't make sense, because I was like, okay, so they're saying that this whole thing in the past, that this Europa mission taking off and being a success, Picard and crew, this is what always happened. Picard and crew causing it to happen. They're not coming back and changing the past. That's what always happened,
Predestination paradox. That's kind of Star Trek's bread and butter.
Sometimes. Sometimes
when they feel like it.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of the I enjoyed the episode for the most part. I did feel that like some of they wrapped up everything, but I felt like some of the wrap up was a little hand wavy. But overall I enjoyed it.
That's also
really snappy.
Yeah.
Less hand wavy, more snappy is what I'd say.
I think that it's a good send off to the version of Star Trek Picard that we've had for the last 2 seasons, because next season I think we're going to get something a little bit different, because a lot of the crew are leaving. Girardi's not going to be there. Rios is not going to be there. Elnor is not going to be there next season. And Soji, she's not going to be on next season. So
they were all fired.
Yeah, everybody got fired. So let's talk about the plot a little bit. So while Picard is quietly confident that the timeline is being steadily restored, he and the crew are aware that everything hangs in the balance as the Europa mission prepares to take flight. The thing that I didn't like was the whole drone thing. I didn't think really worked.
It was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, it did. It didn't really feel like a real threat to me. I mean, like I didn't think those drones. I never thought those drones were going to come into play and like take out the Europa mission or anything like that. But
I do have a problem as a NASA wonk. Although I've been trying to reconcile it with it being 2 years from now and partially a privately funded venue. The whole one, the astronauts don't get on the ship within an hour of its launch. They're up there for a good 3 or 4 hours by that point. Yeah. And they don't break quarantine ever.
That was insane. Yeah. That pissed me off, actually. All the stuff surrounding the launch. It's just like no security. They break quarantine. Soon can just walk in and out and do whatever, and no one cares. Like, it was so dumb.
You mean if a big donor comes up and says, "You mean all my donations don't get me 5 minutes of face"? That doesn't work.
I would actually believe that would happen. I would believe that part would happen.
Well, I would believe that woman at her level would be like, "Yeah, sure, come on," and then they'd get as far as the White Room door and they'd go, "Wrong."
Well, let me say this. I actually worked in fundraising for 15 years. That would not happen. The amount of money you would have to give to be let into something that big is we're talking Elon Musk money. So
Yeah.
Soong money, no, they would never.
Did
And
they
you
say
just
how
saw her
much
last
Soong
night.
makes?
You got your FaceTime last night. Like you don't get
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
redo.
No.
'Cause,
Hey,
like,
didn't you hit that
yeah.
guy with the car? Was that you?
Yeah.
We've been looking for you actually.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, Soong might have Elon money. We don't know. Like, he's got that big place, in San Francisco.
He does not.
He's growing
No.
children in his house.
Well, I do that too, but I don't.
Not like him, though.
Not in a
Expensive.
not in a petri dish.
Oh, they're still expensive.
Um,
Come to
So-
think of it, I wonder if they're making a commentary on Elon. If they're like,
yeah. There all sci-fi shows now have an Elon type character show up. Shoot, there was an Elon character on the episode of Law and Order that I saw. last
Dude,
night.
there's been an
Oh.
Elon character in every James Bond movie ever made. So.
Yeah.
that's true.
Okay,
Um,
arguably.
did you guys?
Not that I want to get in the weird position of defending Elon Musk. I'm just saying,
Oh Lord.
isn't he just Lex Luthor? And we've just transposed Elon Musk on top of Lex
Yeah.
Luthor.
Yeah.
No. Jeff Bezos is Lex Luthor. We've established this. Elon is more of a Simon Stagg character, if you're going with DC mythology.
Well,
I gotta
I
give
can see that point.
I give Elon props for yes, he's an evil bastard, but at least he's forwarding the space program. Bezos is just jerking off into the clouds and bringing his rich buddies along for the circle jerk.
Well,
mean-
regardless, no one's being allowed to break
in the
quarantine.
quarantine, yeah. They said
Well
last
said.
week they said last week that there has to be a Renee who lives and a Renee who dies, and there was a lot of speculation. I think even Scott was on the show speculating that the Renee who dies is Picard's
The
nephew
nephew?
that died, but it turns out the Renee who dies was Talon, and I told you when they said that thing that they brought up the whole thing with her disguise that was coming back. That was going to come back at some
Mhm.
point. I still don't know why they said that once I turn it off, I can't turn it back on for 8 hours.
There was no reason for that.
But
Mhm.
yeah, she
But it didn't
disguised
even affect the
herself.
plot.
It didn't.
Yeah.
No.
She disguised herself as Renee, and she was the one that Soong poisons by touching her face, and he has this poison. That was a very James Bond type of or Mission
Mission
Impossible. It's a
Impossible.
Mission
Yeah.
Impossible type
It's me.
murder. Yeah.
Yeah. See, to me, like all of that screams Elon money. But I can't afford to buy photo paper for my printer. So
Yeah.
You have a printer?
Yeah, really.
Living
my-
large.
my
Right.
wife had a printer when I married her.
And it's still working?
Yeah.
I've got one in the closet that hasn't had toner in it in about 2 years.
Yeah. I will say that the whole Renee Picard Europa mission Soong Soji or Corey thing, that was to me the low point of this whole season. That whole storyline never worked for me.
That was just something they had to come up with something.
Yeah,
To-
and that's
to-
exactly how it felt. We had to come
Yeah.
up with something. Fuck it, another Soong.
Yeah.
I would have much rather that Brent Spiner just be on next season with everybody else, and I guess she come back in time with them. I guess,
Mm.
and for some I don't know, like this season needed to cook more. This like they
They
got
took
to
it out of
the-
the oven too early. It
They took
needed
it out of the
another
oven. It
15
was
minutes.
it was a little underdone. It wasn't like it was edible. Wasn't didn't make me sick.
Mhm.
But another month in the writer's room to hammer out all these little things that we talk about every week would have been fantastic.
As
And you
much
see,
as
that's-
Hmm?
Go ahead, Dave.
as much as I am a fan of seeing, Brent Spiner come back and do another Soong,
Sure.
which is fun, whatever.
And I thought he did fine. I thought he did a good job at it.
about half the time. But when he's being green screened in the middle of a vineyard, yelling like he's in a video game commercial, not so much. But
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, fan service is one thing. I am a fan service me. I say it all the time. However, and yes, it is cool to be like, oh, one of the Soongs was responsible for at least part of the eugenics wars. Fine. But then there's that other part of me that goes, God, this makes the universe feel so small. So like,
yeah.
The
one thing that I did like about it is it explains why the name Noonian is so is out there so much. Khan's name is Noonian and Soong's name is also Noonian, and that would explain, if he created Khan, he might have put the name Noonian in there.
You know what the real reason for that?
Oh yeah, it's Gene Roddenberry had some kind of an army buddy or something named Noonian.
And it never worked. He put that name in like 3 different series, hoping that his old buddy would see it and get in touch with him, and it never happened.
Because he was probably already dead.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so the whole Europa mission takes off, and I don't know, it's just my twisted brain, but when Talon was dying, I was like, Picard, what are you going to do with that body? Because that's a great big butterfly right there.
I just want a deleted scene where like another little square teleportation thing opens up and Gary 7 comes out with the cat and drags her in.
Drags her away.
I think Robert Lansing's a little dead for that though.
Just bring in Hugh Laurie. Similar.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so Soong gets back to his lab and like everything on his computer starts deleting in front of him because he doesn't back anything up to the cloud, apparently. Even in 2024.
Would you back that stuff up to the cloud?
I would back it up somewhere.
I'm sure she took care of all of that. I'm
even on some data tapes that I keep in another location or something.
I'm like, that was pulled out the folder.
I was like, that was fast. There was no lag on the monitor or anything. Like I'm over here, like reformatting a drive takes me 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine.
Yeah. And then he
love how
looks at his computer.
That's the technical thing that you have an issue with in the Star Trek show. Wait a minute.
No, there are many things. There are many things, John.
He looks at everything deleting and then he says, okay, I guess I'll fall back on this. And he pulls out the folder that says Project Khan. Well, I guess if I'm not going to do that, I'll just do this instead.
Doesn't have an Ethernet line that he can't.
Was I the only one who, when I saw that folder, went Project Khan?
Yes.
Or am I just too
Project Khan? Project Khan? So
made my wife laugh.
And then Soji is like deleting everything with a virtual reality helmet on and everything, sitting in the floor of the library, just deleting everything. And then she gets a message to meet her somewhere. And I assumed when I saw that message that it was Q again, because he's already kind of done that once.
Well, she assumed that too. She wasn't expecting it to be Q.
Yeah. And then she shows up and she's like, Q, if you're playing games with me again. And it was Wesley. And he said, no, we're very different.
Did anybody else cry? I think Dave, you said you did. I teared up.
At which part? The Wesley part?
The Wesley part didn't? No, I did.
Wesley, I was just like, let's see what happens.
I got a little choked up when Picard hugged Q, but no, I did like seeing and like I said, I knew Wesley was going to show up in this episode. I didn't know the context because Will Wheaton had already ruined it for me. But he's still a traveler, and so this totally negates the cutscene from Nemesis.
No, Berman negated the cutscene from Nemesis because Wheaton did like 3 days worth of filming, and Berman cut it all out.
Yeah, I understand, but the scene is still out there, and I always assumed that was still canon. But
why is it negated though?
Because they said that in the cutscene they said that Wesley came back to Starfleet and was serving on the Titan.
Oh, I
He
didn't
was
remember
serving
the
in
cutscene.
he was serving in the
Okay.
engineering
Why are you
department.
counting a scene that was cut as canon? Is that a thing people do?
Some
Something
well,
that I
depends
do.
on the property. For the Office, a lot of people do. I don't think Star Trek, but I was just thinking about like there's that one scene in the movie where you see him in the background up there.
Yeah.
You see him
In the
there.
wide shot. Yeah, he's at the wedding.
Okay.
And he's in a Starfleet uniform in that. But see, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, he would come back for a wedding of his friends like that.
Yeah.
But there was a scene
I didn't remember all that other stuff.
there was a scene that was supposed to be after that, still at the wedding, but where he comes up and he's talking to Captain Picard and his mother, and he's talking about, I'm serving on in the engineering crew with the Titan, and next week we're doing this and blah 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 blah, and he's all excited.
Well, it was cut, so it's not canon, and good, because I like this story better. I like him being a traveler much better.
That's dumb. That would be a dumb thing for him to just be like, I'm gonna go be a traveler, and then like a year or two later he's like, I'm going back to Starfleet.
Well,
you know what, maybe him going back to Starfleet was like his Rumspringa. So
it's not, I mean,
it's been like a decade doing something else before he went back to being a traveler.
Technically, he could go be a traveler. He could go be a traveler for thousands of years, and he could still come back.
That's true.
I've been shoveling dilithium for a year now.
Or, in this capacity, he could just go like, he could look at all the timelines and be like, no, I was probably not supposed to do this. I'll just grab this Wesley Crusher from this timeline that's about to end, throw him on the Titan. He won't know any difference. The total Rick and Morty moment. Just like,
I was about to bring up Rick and Morty when you
just like, go help Riker on the Titan.
It's like, well, this timeline is screwed up. Let's just end this.
Yeah.
So how old do you guys think that Wesley is at this point that we see him in this scene? Because
forever.
It doesn't matter. He's a time traveler, so
it's just a question. It's just
I assume he is the same age
he's 50.
that Will Wheaton is.
Will Wheaton's 50.
Yeah, middle aged.
Okay, you guys are no fun. Okay,
I mean, we gave you every answer. Which one did you want?
I mean, he could be hundreds of years old because
he could be. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is 400 years before he was ever even born. So.
Well, I'll say this. If Alex Kurtzman wants to give me a call, I'll be glad to help develop the Traveler series, and we'll answer that question.
I'll bet we can get an insurance company to sponsor it.
And you
probably.
I've seen a lot of speculation that all the stuff with the supervisors and all that from this season may lead into Assignment Earth actually getting a series now.
Dude, let's do it. I'm down.
I wouldn't mind it. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Okay, so
I would be absolutely cool with them completely wrecking every cool thing I ever thought about those characters. Like let's see how they're going to make it not interesting.
I guarantee they come back on Lower Decks at some point anyway. But
I'm just glad Wes didn't come back with like 3 fingers.
We start to look like us. I don't know.
Yeah, they weren't the same species.
I did kind of want him to have more of a costume. he basically just like, got out of his car and just went straight to set. Like,
yeah,
something. And I realized that this is, basically like he shouldn't look too weird because he's, blending in with the local wildlife people.
Well, it feels like they have finally turned on the part of their brain where they said, every time we try to make something look weird and futuristic, it looks horribly dated. So anytime we don't know what to do with these costumes, we're going to make them look like they're in the 19th century.
Yeah.
Well, no, it absolutely makes sense that he dressed the way that he dressed. I just kind of wanted something else.
He looks like he came out of friggin' Picard's childhood dream. Like,
yeah,
he does.
This is 2024. They could have just dressed him in modern clothes.
They did.
A brown leather jacket and jeans are never out of style. So.
That's true.
but he's a whatever. It's not even a complaint. I just if he's got this big surprise cameo. I just kind of wanted him to be more of like more Wesley, less Will.
I wanted him to be wearing a onesie that had like a triangle on it,
Big
and you could see his knob peeking through just a little bit. in certain shots because for some reason they didn't account for that.
Or the onesie that just had like the rainbow stripe that went all the way around.
All right, I got it. Before this goes too far into the gutter, I got a question for y'all.
What?
Um,
Come on, all of those onesies on Next Gen and TNP,
Yeah, well.
they were awful.
At least he wasn't wearing a scant. Yeah.
um,
They all should have been wearing a cup.
at least it wasn't TMP where they panned right across someone that
You were
cross
saying,
standing
Rick?
on the. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm over here in 4K counting veins. Right? Just
Girardi as the queen.
Mhm.
It looked like her face was CG'd onto the body, for want of a better word. Did anyone else feel like there was something weird about that? Was it a costume or was she CG'd in? Or
I think it was CG.
Yeah.
But I think it was because they wanted it to look so blended in, in a way that they probably wouldn't have been able to do with makeup. So they were trying to go for that digital look or whatever.
yeah.
it was one of the only makeup effects that really pulled me out, because I was like, why isn't she moving? Why is it just looked so, it didn't look right.
Because
that bothered me.
it's been 400 years. I'm not sure that Girardi's actual face even still exists. That may have been like a digital. It could have been a screen. I would have been cool if it was that. If there had been some kind of screen that came up or something. But
it felt like they left it on her just being completely still for way too long.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you made one of your episodes 38 minutes. You're not trying to like fill anything, like fill a time slot. Just cut it quicker. Like it looked weird and it looked bad, but whatever. I'm way more interested in figuring out, like, so was her like sect of the Borg around the whole time and just like staying quiet off in some other corner of the galaxy for all of these years, just waiting for their time?
Yeah.
That's what I had questions about. I'm like, what's the implication for the regular Borg? Is this a different timeline? Because she was regular Girardi originally, and then from the perspective of everyone else on the bridge who didn't time travel, she just pops away, and then all of a sudden her face is on the board now. So like, is this a different timeline, or is this the prime timeline? Like,
I think
what's going on?
The important thing is, if I'm to understand Twitter correctly, we're not supposed to ask questions about canon anymore. Nothing is canon and everything is canon. So when they want to reference a thing to make us feel it's canon, and then any other time it's like, just enjoy the story. God, canonistas.
Well, I did like at least one girl turns around and says, "Where's Captain Rios?" And
Yeah.
Picard's like, mind your
And then
station.
Picard's like, shut the fuck up.
He stayed behind to produce more butterflies. That's what he did.
But also
Imagine
Raffi-
if
Oh my
if like
God.
Picard disappeared off the bridge, Data went, where the hell's the captain? And Riker went, shut up, Data.
Well, and,
Yeah.
and plus, Raffi wasn't on the Stargazer the first time around, right? Wasn't she on the ship that Elnor was on?
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
that's why
remember.
she came in
Yeah.
from she wasn't on the bridge. She walks in, she's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I guess she materialized in the hallway.
I guess.
Yeah.
She materialized in the bathroom. What am I doing in here?
Now, let me just point out to all y'all, except me, because you haven't been around for a lot of this. When I start bitching about time travel episodes, y'all always shout me down. This is one of the reasons I don't like time travel series.
I don't
I-
think that's true.
I don't shout you down.
Well, no, you haven't. been.
Shut up, Rick.
I'm still enjoying.
No one shut you down.
I'm still enjoying it.
But yeah, no, like my wife was like, so Rios is gonna stay behind and screw everything up. And
Well, he's
I was
gonna
like,
screw something, but
right. Which, by the way, I'm not sure how much his little backstory that Guinan gave about what happened to him really fits in with the whole, in 2 years everything's gonna go to hell. But I can headcanon it. God, I've been saying, like, Star Trek is the thing that taught me to headcanon, so I'm okay. Don't worry. But I'm like, well, look, it was like one episode of Star Trek, like in the original series, where they were like, by the way, you don't have consequence, but your grandkids are going to have, or your kid is going to do this, whatever. Like Star Trek
tomorrow
4
is yesterday.
Yeah. Star Trek 4, fine. Jillian Taylor, come along. We don't have time to beam her down to the surface again before we take off.
Yeah.
Like she
She's seen
pulled,
too much. She's seen our faces. We have to kill her.
Yeah. So I guess they've just been ignoring stuff for a long time.
Let's just say that the what were their names? Daimler and Loxley from Temporal Investigations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
god.
only the two of them, and they have to investigate every temporal prime direction and violation.
Yeah, that is the first thing I would do is either make if I was in charge, I would either make a Traveler show or a temporal investigation show, and just basically just like fix every canon issue and be like, look, everything that happens and here's why. We're gonna go on like it's almost an anthology series where they're like talking about it almost like a Rod Serling type of situation. We're like, this is an interesting case. Look what happened here. And then we just get the episode like, oh, okay.
Except they're both sitting there drinking coffee and bourbon straight out of the bottle and going,
Yep.
this one sucked too.
You know, the one thing that I think that out of the 6 or 7 things that I would probably change, the one that I'll talk about right now would be the way that they brought Eleanor back. Because if I'm going to accept that they're doing that they're going to bring Eleanor back, I think I probably would have just done it at the scene at the end in the bar. I don't think I would have done it right there in that battle, because they just pop him up on the screen. He's like, the last thing I remember, I was doing this. And then Picard looks at Seven and is like, didn't Q say something about a surprise? Like, this is very Saturday morning cartoony.
It was a very unnecessary line.
I was really thankful that Q had, suddenly gained control of his abilities enough, to bring them back to the future and bring Elnor back, when before he couldn't even like click his fingers at Rene Picard. But
except he then managed to infiltrate the FBI and get into Sung's lab and plant the program for Corey.
Oh, that's just because he's really smart.
Oh,
why not?
But he did say, I've got enough energy to do this. And since Rios is staying behind, maybe I've got enough energy to do one more other thing. It'll be a surprise. And then you bring Elnor back. But the way they introduced him, it was kind of jarring in the middle of that battle scene like that.
And also it kind of fits Q, where he's like, all right, I'm going to send this guy back, and as my last dying move, I'm going to make him absolutely freaking clueless.
Has it been officially announced that John Delancey is in season 3? Because I keep
they
seeing
announced it, but I think they were lying.
Oh,
they did announce it back before season 2 started. They said that he had signed on for season 2 and 3, but I think they were lying. I don't think he's going to be back, because then they also announced this week that so many other characters are not coming back. So
but there's a huge monetary difference between saying so and so isn't coming back versus so and so is going to be there. That gets into false advertising and stuff. And I don't think that they would have to pay a lot of money to Delancey to say that he's going to be there.
Well, not necessarily. Like they threw that kid they threw in the opening sequence of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then they killed him off in the first episode, and he was never in the opening sequence again.
But they're not John Delancey.
No, but it's John Delancey just because we like him. Who the hell knows who John Delancey is?
He does have a cameo. I mean, any celebrity that has a cameo they're not the king of all cinema.
No, and I mean, this is a guy that
I will say hi to your
Star Trek.
I will say hi to
he's obviously got a good agent, and they would have to pay. There would have to be some remuneration. I can never say that word right, for them to announce that he's in the season. I mean, because that's advertising.
For $50, he'll say hi to your grandmother for her birthday.
His cameos are actually very expensive. I have, and he's like one of the $500 guys for 2 minutes. So
Kevin Smith level.
Well,
Kevin Smith he's $500. I've looked.
When someone sent us John Delancey, they said it was $60. So maybe since Picard season 2 came out, he
Yeah.
jumped his price.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. It's been a while, but
it was
but
that.
anyway.
It was
I-
that cameo on Lower Decks really did it for him.
My
Yeah.
my point is, you can say someone's not going to be on the show and be lying about it. Freaking J.J. Abrams does it all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can say someone is going to be on the show and be lying about it.
I think they can.
They absolutely can.
Marvel does it.
even-
Yeah, Marvel
and-
does it all the time.
Yeah.
And him appearing on the show doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be like a regular character. He'd be a flashback
Right.
for
Could be a flashback.
Well, I
where he
mean,
doesn't
they-
speak and he's standing there for 6 seconds. Like
They said that they signed him for season 2 and 3. I mean, they may have signed him
Yeah.
for season 2 and 3. All they got
have
to
an-
do is just
They have an
pay him.
option for it.
Yeah,
It's
like
in the original contract. He has an option for season 3. If they choose not to pick it up, they don't have to pay him.
Jack Nicholson is credited in the Batman Returns, even though he wasn't in that movie.
Because he was very shrewd in the way he negotiated his contract
Yeah.
for that first movie.
Nick, we're talking all over you. If you got anything you want to throw into all this?
Well, yeah, I wanted, like when I mentioned earlier that I felt there were some beats that were unearned. I was talking about Talon dying, and
Mm.
I just felt like they didn't develop that relationship enough for me to care. And it's not Laris. I understand why Picard would care, just because she looks like someone.
Mhm.
But I felt it wasn't necessary for her to die. I don't like it when they kill people off, just for the sake of killing someone, hoping that we'll have some sort of emotional moment. But it's like, I have no emotional attachment to this character. What do I care that she's died? She's not the Romulan I know and love.
Yeah.
It's like, so it felt shoehorned in there. It was completely unnecessary. And yeah, and I just we already ranted about it, so I won't go back. But the other thing that really bugged me was just like the Girardi Borg. I couldn't wrap my head around, what's going on there. How does this affect the real Borg? How does this affect everything in the timeline? And I will take a moment to just express my deep irritation with Rios and everything he did. And well, they were all insanely reckless, but Rios especially, like, he just gave no shits. And it's like, why not? Why were you such a useless piece of crap, dude? Like unless Q deliberately brought him along because he knew he would mess things up and it would be amusing to him. Because like, wow, was he absolutely terrible. I mean, talk about like court-martialable offenses. Like, I mean, no wonder he stayed behind. His career would be over.
Yeah.
I love how in Super Anemic you painted him as worse than Chekhov.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Just like I was like, and again, needless. Like, surely the writers are creative enough to come up with a way for him to fall in love and stay behind and not have him be such a fuck up.
Yeah.
Like he was just so
See,
dumb.
I think that's the thing. They're not creative enough. If one thing has been proven over and over again, me and my limited mental capacity, I am a better writer. It's okay. I have
Like
several
they-
people writing me and telling me your idea was better. This isn't even hubris. This isn't a big ego of any sort. This is the voice of the fans.
I feel like they wanted to give everybody their own storyline. And so like everybody got short shrift. Like they should have kept more people together.
COVID, man. Can't do
Yeah.
that.
Speaking of short
I
shrift,
mean, even if not physically together, have them on the same mission.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rios is over here, and Girardi's over here, and the Borg Queen's over here, and they're doing this thing, and Picard's doing that, and Brent Spiner is here.
yeah.
And there's
But
a remote
to-
permission. I'm like, come on.
But as
come
you
on.
were all saying earlier, they had enough episodes that they could have given each character maybe one episode to do a lot rather than throwing everyone into each episode and they all have like 5 minutes to do something. Because another thing that was given short shrift was Seven and Rafi. And I'm like, another unearned beat. It's like at the end they kiss. Yay. Who gives a shit? We've never seen them together. Why would we care if
when they're not
together or
fighting,
not?
they're always fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad they got together, I guess. Like,
Well,
but you're
I
right.
don't
I
care
have
one
no.
way or the other. So why even waste
Well,
the screen time?
If they hadn't have had the kiss, which the kiss didn't entirely absolve them, if they hadn't have had the kiss, they would have been accused of queer baiting, and that would have been correct. They would have been queer baiting, and the throwing that kiss in there at the end doesn't completely.
But why
absolve
put them
but-
together in the first place? Why put them together for 5 seconds at the end of last season, just to have it go nowhere?
Have you
Just so
seen
they
what
could
they
have,
said
like-
about that? That apparently the writers saw them together at a convention and said, "Oh, they look hot together. They look good together. Let's do that."
Yeah, they said on the Ready Room that
Talk
somebody
about queer baiting.
one of them saw a picture of them together, and they said, "Well, there's a hot couple of lesbians or something like that." And they're like, "Yes, let's put that on the show."
They said that out loud.
Well, it was one.
Well, it
I
was
mean,
one of them.
It was one
I
of
think
them
it-
that
I
said
think it
that.
was Jerry Ryan who said.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
either
oh.
Ryan or Michelle Hurd. Yeah.
Like, yeah, we look like a hot lesbian couple, and they're like, yes.
All right, the one thing that we haven't mentioned, and I mean, it kind of shows the fact that we haven't mentioned it, is that the whole reason that the Borg Queen showed up in the first place was because of this massive whirlpool in space thing that was about to eject a bunch of energy that evidently nobody noticed until
Well,
it was
space is
almost too
big.
late. Yeah, you always say that.
I was
Okay.
I was
Not on Star
about
Trek.
to,
It's not. It's just space is small on Star Trek.
I
was-
would have been again. This is another thing they could have easily just changed a line, and it would have made sense. The Borg Queen is like, this anomaly is forming. It'll appear in 4 minutes and 22 seconds. Your instruments can't detect it, but ours can. You're gonna have to trust me. No, there's nothing there, Captain. We're not reading anything there. You gotta trust me.
Yeah, and
Fine, we trust you, and then it appears. Fine, totally works. Totally works.
and we brought
But
in
you're
just
right, Sean. It makes no sense. This huge thing that's gonna take out the galaxy.
the
has
entire
been
galaxy.
building.
Yeah,
Oh, the sector.
And-
They said the sector.
Okay. Blast a beam through the galaxy. Whatever sci-fi words make it
Yeah.
work for you. I'm saying it's big, and someone should have noticed the energy building.
I
Well,
don't
they're
know.
all sci-fi people.
and if it had enough energy that it was going to take out the entire sector, was the deflector array from what 12, 13 ships enough? Would that really be enough to to keep it from happening?
I can headcanon that. I'm fine with it.
This
Because the Borg ship is leading them, and she did a thing to it, and she boosted the shields, and it's not so much that she's stopping it, she's just dispersing it. I can make that work.
this was my favorite part of the episode. And I meant to bring it up earlier, and I was going to, and then we got rolling on other stuff. I love the fact that yet another space anomaly was like the throwaway at the end of the episode. Oh, by the way,
Yeah,
this shit's we got to deal with this. And then they did, instead of, another 45 minutes trying to figure out what it was, where it came from, and then doing the same thing.
They basically just in the last 10 minutes of this finale solved an entire season of Discovery.
yeah.
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 Like, it's a universe ending thing.
And then it turns
Oh,
into
deflector shield.
it turns into a
Stick our
transport
finger
conduit,
in it.
which I think the fact that it turned into a transport conduit, that might be the basis of the plot for next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might not be over with.
Yeah, and they
it.
said I read a thing this week that said that, we've got the entire original legacy cast of TNG coming back next season. But what I read this week says that, I mean, if you're thinking you're going to see the whole crew on a ship like doing their old thing, that's not the way it's going to work out. You're going to have all of them are going to be there, but they're not all going to be on at the same time. They said Gates McFadden is going to be in 6 episodes next season. She's confirmed that. But some of the other ones may only be in 1 episode. Well, some of them may only be in 2 or 3 episodes or something like that. It's not going to be the whole crew is together again on a starship doing what they always did. kind of thing. But
I want all 10 episodes to have Pulaski and every one of the others shows up for about 5 minutes just to really piss everybody off.
I was about to say you're losing your better writer cred right now.
No, that's
You
not
guys,
about better. That's not about writing. That's about spite.
do you guys think that Seven keeps her command of the Stargazer?
Sure, why not?
I mean, why would she? She's
I
not
mean,
even
it was
in
a-
Starfleet.
Yeah, no,
it was a
well,
field
she's not
commission, but
Starfleet.
Well,
Yeah.
Rios is gone. I think. Well, I don't know.
But
I like.
I'd
I'm
say
starting to
no,
think it's a
but-
gorgeous design. I don't think we'll see it again.
I say no, but I mean, in the Kelvin verse, Kirk kept his command,
yeah.
even though he had a field commission from cadet to
Yeah.
captain.
All right. So in the final scene in Guinan's bar, Whoopi Goldberg is
dumb.
seen together with Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart is seen together with Michelle Hurd, Jerry Ryan, and even Evagora. But the three of them never appear in the same shot as Whoopi Goldberg. Guinan is briefly seen from behind in a couple of shots with the trio, and the back of Elnor seen in one shot, which is likely an attempt to disguise the fact that they were using body doubles to make it look like they were all there together when they weren't, because of COVID reasons. So the file that Adam Soong looks at in his final scene is labeled Project Khan. It's dated June 7th, 1996. Khan, Noonien, and Singh left Earth in 1996 at the end of the eugenics wars, according to TOS. Now, they may be retconning that. I don't know. Soong's descendant, Eric Soong, would become involved with the augments descended from the project that created Khan during his career later in Enterprise. The Borg Queen seen in the Stargazer is revealed to be Girardi. She used the audible song. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that French.
Non, je ne regrette rien.
There you go. All
Yay,
right.
Canada!
Wow. Congratulations.
That was
nailed it.
specifically to draw the attention of Picard and make him realize that she poses no threat. But that conversation hadn't happened yet. So the two had discussed the song and its meaning for Picard while stranded in the year 2024 in the episode Watcher. All right. That's all I've got. Do you guys have anything you want to add before I close things up?
I did like it was.
I mean, we
What?
nitpicked the hell out of it, but I still enjoyed it, and I'm on board for season 3. And mediocre Trek is better than no Trek in my opinion. So bring it on.
I don't think I agree with that.
For me,
And I don't
mediocre
think
is
this
Trek.
season was mediocre. I think it had its low points, but
I
But
think I think that the season of Picard was shaped like this.
You're on a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm on a podcast. Yeah. I'm on a video podcast too. You can see what I just said on YouTube. No, I think the first 2 episodes were great. I
Mhm.
think that it dipped,
Yeah.
and by the middle of the season, I mean, that one episode, I can't remember the name of it, the one where Girardi sings, that episode I label as bad.
yeah.
And then it came back up, but it didn't quite come up as high as it did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I have to wonder if the writers for these shows, because we've talked a lot about ever since Star Trek came back, that they're doing these season-long arcs, which is it is the way now with television.
Mhm.
But I'm wondering if the people that are writing TV, I don't know about other shows, but it's almost like they don't know how to write a 10-episode season. So maybe if they had 26 episodes, they could explore some of these threads a little better and discard some other things. It felt like the season was too long, but it was only 10 episodes or
10
or
episodes, yeah.
10 episodes.
9.5 episodes, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't quite understand why a 10-episode season would feel long when we used to get
Because it's half
26.
side quests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a 10-episode series that really only had about 6 episodes of content.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There was, and like that thing with Agent Wells, that whole
Which went
storyline.
nowhere.
Yeah, the whole storyline didn't really pertain to what was going on. A lot of that. Now, I did want to point out the scene with Guinan at the end when Guinan said, "Oh, I've known about this the whole time. I just didn't mention it to you before because basically they haven't written that yet."
I do sincerely wish when the show ends, I guess it's over now technically, as far as production. I would love to have the producers and the writers of Better Call Saul just do a master class for every other writing team to teach them how to like sustain suspense, make appropriate references and callbacks to the other series. I mean, they do it so masterfully. Like I sit there and I'm watching Better Call Saul and I'm like, God, I just don't want it to end. Every episode is so fantastic. And then I watch Star Trek and I'm like, what's happening? Why are we doing this? But then again, you never expect like a YouTube dive, late night YouTube dive to like yield life-changing results. But I wound up watching this Tom Snyder episode from like 79 where he was talking to the Star Trek TMP cast, and they just had on Harlan Ellison as well. And Harlan Ellison just like beat it into every one of them how mediocre Star Trek is. And I didn't want to agree with him, but I wound up agreeing with him. And I was like, But yeah, I think they should have kept Elmer dead. Stakes. I need stakes. And that doesn't mean a random lady that I don't know dying. I need Eleanor to die.
Harlan Ellison did need
You've been saying that the whole season.
Harlan Ellison did.
Since when does Star Trek have stakes ever? They always reset at the end of the episode. Why is this
Deep Space Nine?
And
that was it.
That was it. That's
that was it.
Like that's the exception.
Well,
Next Generation, they did not have stakes.
Look, man,
original series, they did not have stakes.
I want Star Trek to be better than it has been. Why is that so bad? Why is that the cardinal sin of the Star Trek fan? Like when you're a Star Trek fan,
you're breaking your heart.
Man, I wish this had
to see it.
I wish this had stakes. I wish this was better written. People are like, well, this series didn't. This series didn't. Yeah, I don't want it to be as shitty as those.
You've got Picard.
Well, okay, but
especially in season 1, you've got this really dark Star Trek series that's got doing things that Star Trek has never really done before, but also falling into doing some of the same tropes that they've been doing the whole time. I mean, at one point you've got Ichev having his eye pulled out of his head on screen. They never really done that before.
No.
But at the same time, you're using time travel to reset everything so that everything that you do at the beginning of the season doesn't really matter because you're gonna hand wave it all the way at the end. Anyway.
I think that whole Ichev getting killed and having his eye pulled out was kind of a fu to the original actor, who was like shitting on the new Star Trek series and had gotten a little Trumpy.
a little
Trumpy.
All right. Check out our patreon.com/infinite potato. You'll find a bunch of stuff over there, including our movie commentaries. There's a Patreon portal on the website now. So if you become a Patreon member, you will get access to that portal, and you'll have access to all the movies that we've done so far, including our review of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park that came out last month.
I'm still sorry for that, folks. I apologize.
You can join that for $3 a month, or you can become a producer like Brandon Ushio, Dale Goodall, and Tom Corcoran. And that's just being a member at the $10 level. So go and check that out. And if you want to contact the show, you can leave us a voicemail on Anchor, or you can send us an email or a Facebook message. And if you want to find out how to do those things, go to our website at infinitepotato.com and click on the link for that Star Trek podcast. John, thank you very much for being here tonight. Let us know where we can find you.
You can find me on other shows on the network, primarily my show, Captain Game Show, where it's trivia, there's wordplay, there's improv, often music, some dancing, but that's more just in celebration after the contestants are done.
All righty. Neek, Star Trek is keeping you busy these days.
Yeah. You can find me at superanemic.com or on Facebook at superanemic.
All right. Dave, where can we find you,
Yes.
sir?
You can hear me curmudgeoning on Star Trek Universe podcast. And you can also, if you're into DC, DCOnscreen.com, DC on Screen podcast. We talk about the DC universe on film and television. A lot of griping about stuff these days.
All right. Rick, where can we find you?
You can find me all over the Infinite Potato Alliance podcasts. I tend to sneak in anywhere someone isn't watching the back door. I'm occasionally on Captain Game Show. I'm on Cosmic Potato. I do my own show, Starbase 66, and also Open the Iris, the Stargate SG-1 watch along show.
All righty. Remember, there are 2 episodes of this podcast this week because we are also discussing the series premiere of Strange New Worlds. We're keeping it as a separate episode because I know it's not available to everyone, and I don't want to put anything out there that's going to spoil it for someone that hasn't had an opportunity to watch it, but that will be available on the feed this week as well. So join us for our next episode where we cover Strange New Worlds season 1, episode 1, which is titled Strange New Worlds. Until then, remember, see you out there.